If you look back at the history of Star Wars, the longer the gap between movies, the more weight is placed on each new iteration. And with Starfighter and Mandalorian and Grogu headlining the next two movie slots, what does this mean for the franchise, and are they missing the biggest point of Star Wars? Welcome to Star Wars Uplink, your place for everything Star Wars gaming, the TV shows, and the movies. Let's jump in.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him.
So we've got two very different Star Wars movies that are going to be coming into play. It will be 7 years by the time that the next movie comes out. And which isn't necessarily crazy for gaps between Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it feels like a long time.
It does feel like a long time. And I think it's exemplified by the fact that we have been getting the TV shows and haven't been getting the movies. So I think that aspect of things is a little interesting. Because like if you look at it, it was 1985, I believe. No. 1983 for Return of the Jedi. And then you had 1999 for The Phantom Menace. So you had a decent gap there. So that's not crazy. And then, 2005 to 2015, 2014. So you had a 9-year gap there. 7-year gap now for the new Star Wars movie. I think the thing that makes this different is instead of the new saga story, we're getting a continuation of a TV show in the form of a movie that has the dumbest title ever. Yeah. Like the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Or Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie.
Not very Star Wars.
Not very Star Warsy. It definitely feels like a cash grab, which is what we've talked about before. And then if you look at the opposite side of this thing, you've got something very interesting happening with Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy, which is a sentence I never expected to say in my entire life.
Nope.
Sean Levy has an interesting repertoire of movies and TV shows. He's done some stuff in Stranger Things. He did the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. In modern media, he's not necessarily respected as like an auteur filmmaker, but he's done a lot of things of various quality levels, a lot of them starring Ryan Reynolds. So he's done these things, whether you love them or hate them, what have you. This one I think is interesting because we've got Starfighter as the name, so it seems to be more of this like dogfight-esque kind of story. And you have a very crazy cast. Like, what the heck is going on with this cast? You have Ryan Gosling, of course, Flynn Gray, Matt Smith, Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre, Simon Bird, Jamel Westman, Daniel Ings, and Amy Adams. And it's getting DP'd. The cinematographer for this movie is the cinematographer for Top Gun Maverick, as well as F1, Claudio Miranda, who is a very good cinematographer and also very good at making things feel grounded and real. And I think it's so fascinating that this concoction is actually moving forward. And it's not like theoretically getting announced and then they look forward to working on this after a project. Like, it is currently in production.
Wow. Yep.
And the Mandalorian Grogu movie is already filmed. I think they've done a few reshoots, but they're like working on it. We haven't obviously gotten like a official trailer or anything like that. We've gotten a title card, and that's about it. And we've seen leaks, of course.
Of course.
But there's like you've got two sides of the same coin, where you have a TV show movie that they're seemingly putting a lot of money into, but like every single screen grab that I've seen from this just makes it seem even more of a cash grab of like, here is this story of we have all of these pieces, let's just make a big TV show movie and then release it, which they've done in the past. If you look at like Clone Wars the movie, like that technically is a very similar thing. It kicked off the Clone Wars TV show, but it wasn't that great. It ended up bleeding into something great, like the TV show.
Right.
But like there aren't a lot of like historical cases of TV shows going to the big screen and having like a huge success, or them being regarded as like this critical
Right.
success story.
Right. This like pivotal thing for the series or for the yeah.
Very fascinating move there. I'm honestly not my hopes for the Mandalorian Grogu movie are very low.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a whole lot riding on it, mostly due to the fact that the same people that made Mandalorian season 3 are the people that are making the movie, and I was not a big fan of the third season of Mandalorian. It just kind of lost the plot and the heart of what makes the Mandalorian so great, which is the fact that the Mandalorian is a character in Star Wars that doesn't know he's in Star Wars, and then he's surrounded by these like pretty impactful characters, and they made it more about those impactful characters rather than focusing on what made the Mandalorian interesting. And I think they really kind of like the fact that he just puts back the helmet on and he just kind of, it's like actually the cult that I was raised in that made me like believe that the galaxy was this way, and once I got into the galaxy and found it wasn't this way, I'm just gonna go back to that cult.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, I think we lost something there.
So like there's that aspect of things. And I really wanted to bring this up, one, to talk about Starfighter, which I'm really interested in. Like I'm not gonna put my hopes up, but I'm pretty hopeful that it's gonna get made.
Yeah.
Actually.
That's the first bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's crazy. It's actually in
whoa.
production. They have announced cast and they're doing the movie things instead of what they've historically done, which is like, we've got a movie. Look at this director.
Yep.
Let's ride the hype train of the news cycle and then never talk about it again.
Yeah.
So, like this time, like they're actually in production. They're actually making this movie. They have a script. They have a director. They have a cast. They have executive producers. They've got people moving. They've got a cinematographer that wouldn't just take any random project because he's done some of the biggest movies of all time. I'm excited? Question mark? And that's a weird thing to feel.
Yeah.
Especially when right before this movie in 2026, we're going to get a clear cash grab, like something that I'm just not excited about. So I think there's this interesting place, and it brings up the question of like, have they lost the plot of what Star Wars is and like what that direction is? I think they had for a long time. I think they thought that TV shows were the big thing, and they put a lot of stock in that over what the movies should be. And they, first of all, with the first set of movies that they did, like the end of the Skywalker saga with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, they clearly just had no plan.
No, yeah.
And they expected things to be viewed just because it's Star Wars. And I like that they now, through the experience of the TV shows, have found that they have to work for it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. I think they're still trying to find what Star Wars is today, you know, because we did get a little lost in the TV shows and in even with the sequels trilogy.
Yeah.
They kind of lost that too. So yeah, I think we're coming into a spot where I think they're starting to relearn what Star Wars is. And I think we all kind of need to redefine Star Wars too. So it'll be really interesting to see how these go. Mandalorian Grogu, again, it's right off of a TV series, so I don't know if that really is the thing. I feel like this is kind of their last hurrah with it, or at least I hope so.
Yeah.
Like, I hope this is the finish line for Mandalorian. I don't think it will. But if it could be, that would be beautiful. Like, I think it's time. And and then maybe we're going into something very new with really well-known, well-acclaimed cinematographers, actors, directors. Like, maybe this is the new Star Wars galaxy that we're going to be experiencing, because clearly they've decided the Skywalkers are over.
Yeah.
In theory. I mean, there's still the Rey potential.
And the Starfighter movie does, like, timeline-wise take place after the events of the Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. I'm not. Well, no, it's not like we're going to pretend like it never existed.
Yeah, no,
but,
I just mean
always,
like putting that into context. Like they are continuing that storyline, and they're continuing that timeline of like, oh, this isn't like fighter pilot movie set in between movies or anything like this. This is like timeline wise the most recent project in the timeline that we're going to be seeing,
right?
Which is cool. Like they are kind of forging the path forward on your note of like this could be the future of what Star Wars is. And I do think that there's two ways here. You've got like two not necessarily bandwagons, but there's two ideas that are at play here. You have this idea that Star Wars is a universe for playing with action figures and making the story around those action figures and like reliving your childhood, which is what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have done historically with the live action stuff that they've been a part of let me put my favorite characters in even if they don't make sense, and instead of thinking as the characters, think about me as the person making it. And then you have this other idea of like what can we experiment within Star Wars utilizing the building blocks of Star Wars, and I would put like Skeleton Crew and Andor in that bucket.
Yep.
And these are kind of the two buckets. Like you've got the foundation of what George Lucas made, which I think is just the foundation of everything. I'm not even like that's what the buckets are sitting on top of.
Yeah.
And you have like Andor and Skeleton Crew that took the building blocks of Star Wars itself. What are the things that the Star Wars universe was saying, the stories were saying, and let's utilize those building blocks to make something different.
I might even put the first and maybe the second season of Mandalorian Grogu or Mandalorian.
I would say like the first season of Mandalorian and Grogu is like leaning on the edge of the bucket. And the second season is leaning on the edge of the bucket for the action figure side. And then season 3 is directly at the bottom of the bucket. Yeah. So like you have this analogy that I'm taking way too far of like the foundation, like the floor, the support structure of what Star Wars is being the core 6, the original trilogy and the prequels. And then you have everything else that like builds on top of that.
Yeah.
In various ways. Yeah. The sequels are in a very interesting place because they tried to make a third bucket and it just didn't land like they wanted to.
Yeah.
And Skeleton Crew took like the ideas of what film was at that time and made something within Star Wars that felt like it. Utilizing a heartfelt story that was very much an homage and an honoring of the universe of Star Wars and the building blocks of Star Wars and the ideology of Star Wars. And then you have Andor that was like, let me take Star Wars and history and the things that were influencing and on George Lucas's mind at the time. Let me take those blocks and even push them further. Let me make something that's good outside of Star Wars that happens to be in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think that's really fun and interesting. And then you have the rest of it where you have like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was just appalling because they tried to just do the fan service thing without having a reason or a story that they wanted to say, like a core thing that they needed to say. Again, putting too many things on top of it. And then you have The Acolyte, which tried to do something new, but didn't have enough time span, both in the show itself. Like if they had maybe 12 episodes to work with, I think we could have gotten a little bit further in those stories. But I think a lot of that story was just flawed from the get-go. I feel like there were certain things maybe behind the scenes that they pushed a little bit further that maybe wasn't quite what the original plan was. So it's close. Then you have Ahsoka and you have Book of Boba Fett and you have Mandalorian Season 3 that are like these clear fan cast servicing the fandoms of the creators over the characters. And I think that's where it fell apart. And again, we have two things that are coming out. We have the Mandalorian Grogu movie, which is clearly just a rehash of old ideas using characters that the creators like versus doing things that fit the characters. And then on the other side, you have something new, a new story set in a new timeline, a new time period, set with new characters in a very different galaxy that we haven't seen before, because this is the post-Rise of Skywalker galaxy.
Right.
So you feel like the new thing, you have the old thing. And the old thing, I think, was kind of played out. And to your point, maybe it is the last that we see of The Mandalorian. Who knows if we're going to get a season 4. If this thing does very well, we could possibly see more Mandalorian Grogu movie 2, the second movie, Mandalorian Grogu 3, the third movie.
Oh, no.
I don't know what the heck's going on there. I think it's very flawed to have that be your foundation. And I think rightfully so. I think people within Lucasfilm, within Disney, are seeing that, one, they need to have Star Wars movies because that's where it makes actual money, instead of fake bring people on Disney Plus and categorize them as new viewers or whatever money.
Yeah.
Like, fine. The movies are what drive Star Wars forward. That those are the pillars that everything else is like built underneath of. And I think maybe the Starfighter movie is that new experience.
We're going to find out.
Yeah.
It's intriguing.
Theoretically, the next trilogy is also going to be set after the events of Rise of Skywalker, and also theoretically after the events of Starfighter.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are going in that direction, I think they need to set up some of that foundation very strongly. You can't build it on top of the Mandalorian Grogu, but just because Mandalorian Grogu takes place, I think, 5 years after the events of the last movie, Return of the Jedi. And then you have like James Mangold's movie, which is like so far in the past that it is basically a new universe that they're playing within.
Yeah.
And I like these ideas, and I hope that we get to see them really kind of like play around with the thoughts and ideas of like, let's tell an interesting story using the backdrop of Star Wars, utilizing that universe, utilizing this shared knowledge that we all have. What does it look like for them to push it forward a little bit, stretch it a little bit?
Yeah. And the movies give us an opportunity to not intertwine all these stories. Like, we were starting to get in a little Marvel universe going on with the TV shows, and now with the movies, it's like, no, let's just make good separate things in Star Wars.
Yeah. And you have a limited amount of time. You have a 2-hour time slot, and you can't just have a random character show up for no reason except to set up something else. Yes. Let's keep the cameos out. Okay.
There's
going to be a lot of them. Let's just be fair. Yeah. I mean, Rada the Hutt's going to be there, and he's going to be buff. So like, he's going to get kidnapped again, apparently. So like, reusing some different plot lines that we've seen before.
Yeah.
Which is the thing.
They can save that all for Mandalorian and Grogu, but with anything else.
Yeah, with everything else. Yeah. I think that's mostly just because like, not to make this the anti-Dave Filoni person, because like the podcast, like he's probably a great guy. Everyone that I've heard have interaction with him love the interactions with him as a person. But I think him as a writer, director, or creative on Star Wars is a little flawed, and it's historically based off of this small stint of time where he worked with George Lucas. And when your entire career, for the most part, is building off of other people's stories and experiences, you do start to drink the Kool-Aid a little too much.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's the case with The Mandalorian and Grogu. If you don't have experiences that you can draw on with outside of a universe to bring in that experience, you're going to be a little bit one-dimensional. And so far, that's been the case with projects associated with Dave Filoni, especially with him as the chief creative officer. Yeah. So he's the person, in, like more so than Kathleen Kennedy, for what we've seen so far, he was the person in charge of guiding that universe. And we've seen what happens with that. And we get a very messy, very self-referential universe and slate of things. So hopefully, with the success of Andor and the critical success of that show, bringing new experiences and new audiences and using that word of mouth to bring people to Star Wars, they get to say, hey, we can actually push Star Wars a little bit more than we thought maybe in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe that hopefully that gives him the experience. And like what I've said before is like, he's not a good director of live action. He's been a great director of animation historically. But live action, he just thinks in like, we're going to have to animate this person. So like, we'll just have to let them stay there. Because if we let them stay there, we don't have to animate them. Like, no, you shouldn't have two characters just like sitting on a screen with a bunch of different shots of them standing there talking to each other. Like, you can add some movement. You don't have to worry about animating things. Like, it's okay.
You can show, not tell.
Yeah.
Wow.
So hopefully, the only way to get that experience is if you have a motivation to learn and get that more experience. So hopefully this is one of those things where it's a learning moment. George Lucas had learning moments, as we've seen in the past, but for the most part, he actually had a story that he wanted to tell and an emotion and an idea that he wanted to convey. And I think that's different from what Dave Filoni has had historically as motivators for his projects.
Yeah, Dave Filoni feels more like a Miyazaki kind of creator, where he's just like, let's just start with a story and see where it goes. Definitely not as skilled, but
yeah, I was about Miyazaki. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. So should be interesting. Yeah, hopefully he's just taking notes. I just hope he has something that he actually wants to say instead of just like, I want to see this character do this thing.
I want stories that say something, not just look at how many people that we can bring from the Clone Wars into this show.
Yeah.
Come on. Or an homage to this thing that you missed the whole point of because you're trying to make an homage rather than a net new thing that honors the past.
Right.
So hopefully we see something new with the Starfighter, and hopefully we're pleasantly surprised with the Mandalorian Grogu, but I don't have a whole lot of hope with that one. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching us on YouTube, or contact uplinkpodcast.com if you're listening to this wherever you find podcasts. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this idea of what Star Wars is doing and possibly losing in this pursuit of these different kinds of ideas. Let us know. Love to hear your feedback. And as always, may the Force be with you.